kids, welcome back to the channel. Rio here, and of course today is Wednesday, so today is the next in my series of film reviews. This is the next installment of my family-friendly Halloween series, and of course, as always, I am filming here live on yet another stage at Kim's Krypt Haunted Mill in Spring Grove, PA. Today we are in Granny's Parlor, one of the rooms that you'll pass through early on in the attraction. And we're going to be looking at a film today from 2012 that I'm a really super big fan of, and you've probably heard of this one, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Today we're going to be looking at ParaNorman.
ParaNorman.
So, ParaNorman is a film from a company called Laika Studios. Laika Studios has done movies like Kubo and the Two Strings. You've seen their work quite a bit. What you might not know is that they used to be a company called Will Vinton Studios. That was, they were originally founded in 1975, brought us the California Raisins, among a lot of other characters that we've come to know. When the Laika bought the company in, 2002, from, Mr. Vinton, who didn't really want to sell it, but these things happen, right? Unfortunately, Mr. Vinton did pass away in 2018. But Laika has continued to keep his studio alive and has done a lot of really great work. So we're going to talk a bit about this one specifically now.
From the makers of Coraline.
The witch's ghost is going to wake up tonight. And when she does, she'll raise the dead.
So ParaNorman takes place in some sort of ubiquitous New England town called Blythe Hollow. That has a long history of witchcraft. Okay, you can already see the sort of metaphor for Salem, right? Yeah, that was pretty much what I thought when I saw it too. But one of the important things to remember is our primary character, which is Norman. Norman is very different from the other kids in this town because Norman can see the dead.
He does have some friends.
Norman, wait up! I like to be alone. So do I. Let's do it together.
It's just that most of them
Good morning.
aren't exactly alive.
How's it hanging? Haven't heard that one before.
Now, nobody else can see this, okay? So you imagine he's not a very popular kid. Well, now, as I said, this town has this history of witchcraft, right? So they have the town folklore of a singular witch, Agatha. And this singular witch apparently was just the worst of the worst. And, of course, they do the pageants in the school for the drama club every year, where they tell the story of how she was defeated by, you know, the Puritans and their, yeah. Okay, so all of that, right? Of course, Norman's not buying any of this because he just thinks it's dumb. So that's fair, yeah. Only problem is that Norman's got a weirdo uncle that lives up on the hill, who seems to know a little bit more about this witch story than everybody else in town.
You've got to use your gift of talking to the dead to stop it.
This is crazy.
Do I look crazy to you?
And that's where the rest of the movie continues, is him just trying to figure out exactly what he's supposed to do and unraveling the mystery of the Blythe Hollow Witch and what Agatha's real story was. I always like a witch story that just isn't the cackling weirdo. In fact, some of the dialogue, they actually call that out, and I just think that's funny as hell. But now let's go ahead and take some time. Let's talk about the cast on this, because the cast on this is really good.
Meet Norman.
Okay, so first of all, we have Norman. Norman is played by Cody Smith McPhee. He's got quite a few credits, but notably, he played Nightcrawler, one of the original Nightcrawlers in X-Men Apocalypse, X-Men Dark Phoenix, and in Deadpool 2. But he has a lot of other stuff he did as a child actor. But in this case, remember, these are voiceovers. They're not physically on the screen. Now we have his family, Norman's family. As you can guess, Norman's family's not very supportive of Norman, because nobody understands it, them least of all, okay? So you have his wonderfully nurturing hippy-dippy mom, who is just the best, right? I like her a lot. She's trying so hard to be supportive, and just doesn't know how. She is being voiced by Leslie Mann, a comedic actor. You would have seen her in The Cable Guy and The 40-Year-Old Virgin. And the father, who is just, right, the dad is the absolute opposite of this. He is just not having none of it. You know, why can't you be normal? He's that guy, right? You kind of dislike him at first, but he makes sense after a while.
His parents don't get him.
He's probably up there fiddling with his Ouija or his orb.
So the father's being played by Jeff Garlin. Now, I've mentioned him before. He played the studio representative in Studio 666. But he was also Curb Your Enthusiasm and actually was in Wall-E from Disney. So not his first voiceover gig, right? So, but you know who he is, right? Then, of course, we have his sister. Oh, Lord, Norman's sister. Norman's sister, who is your standard snarky teenage girl.
His sister doesn't like him.
You are such a loser.
Her name is Courtney, and she is being played by Anna Kendrick, who was in the Pitch Perfect movies. And she also was in the Trolls movie. She's the voice of Poppy. So if you're into Trolls, she's Poppy. As I understand it, that's one of the principal ones. We have some other characters that are involved, other students that he deals with. Some are friends, some are not. We, of course, have the other weird kid, which is actually the fat kid. So he's a little bit of both, right?
Who's a good boy? That's not his chin.
That is his friend, that is Neil, who becomes basically his best bud. And Neil, and I hope I'm going to pronounce his name right, Neil is played by Tucker Albrizzi. I didn't find a lot for him, but if you like our boy Fluffy, I love Fluffy, the comedian Fluffy, he has a show that was called Mr. Iglesias, and he was one of the primary characters in that, one of the students that he works with in the show. I think it's a Disney show, not 100%. And then, of course, Neil has an older brother, and he becomes part of the story as well.
Is he dead or what?
Neil's older brother, who is Mitch, is played by Casey Affleck. You probably know the name already, Ocean's 11, all the Ocean's movies, right? Okay. And then, of course, we have the bully. Because there's always got to be a bully, right? This bully is pretty straightforward. I think we've all known this kid, too.
And the kids at school
Look, it's Abnorman.
always pick on him.
The bully's name is Alvin. And Alvin is played by Christopher Mintz-Plasse. You would know him. Superbad, Kick-Ass. He actually was the voice of Fish Legs in How to Train Your Dragon. So Norman's uncle, who's actually, even though he passes away early in the film, is still in the film for a while. It's not a spoiler. We've already talked about the fact that kid talks to ghosts, right? So the uncle, Mr. Pendergast, is played by John Goodman. You know who John Goodman is, of course, right? You know, from Roseanne and the Cloverfield 10 or 10 Cloverfield Lane, the sequel one. It's John Goodman. You know who he is.
Time is running out.
And of course, we have you know, Agatha Blythe. We have the Witch of Blythe Hollow, right? She is actually being voiced by Jodelle Ferland from Silent Hill. So it's interesting, the cast on this, right? Because some are just set up voice actors, some are comedians, some are, you know, like child actors, some are like horror actors, some are... It's a really great balance of everything. This is why I like the film so much, because the performances come from so many different places.
You wanna play some hockey?
Noting a couple others, we have a couple of ghost characters that I just want to call out without giving too many spoilers on who they are. We have the ghost of one of these Puritan judges that condemns Agatha Blythe. The main judge is actually voiced by Bernard Hill. Of course, King Theoden from The Lord of the Rings. He actually passed away just this year, 2024. And of course we have the grandma, which is where the first ghost we meet is that Norman hangs out talking to the ghost of his grandma, which is why we are in this room. His grandma's played by Elaine Stitch. And she would have known her from Steel Magnolias. Also Krippendorf's Tribe, if anybody's ever seen that, it's a fun movie. Unfortunately, grandma also passed away. Like literally and figuratively, I guess. Sorry, that's probably not really funny.
Is everyone alright? Nobody got bitten? I bit a tongue. Did that count?
And apropos of nothing, the drama teacher who was putting on the, you know, Season of the Witch pageant at the high school, the drama coach, Okay, this is just a fun bit of trivia. The drama coach is played by Alex Bernstein, who's the voice of Lois Griffin from Family Guy. So, the film was actually written by Chris Butler, who was actually the writer on Kubo and the Two Strings. It's a really good movie, by the way. And it was directed by him and Sam Fell, who was the director on Flushed Away, which I thought was cute. I don't care what anybody says. I thought it was a cute movie. Also, Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget, which I also thought was great. Our music is done by John Bryan, who did the scores for Sunshine of the Eternal Mind, right? Spotless Sunshine. Oh, Jesus. Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Thank you. Also, Christopher Robin. So your animation in the film is actually stop motion, as would be suggested by it being Will Vinton Studios, aka Leica Studios. But it's really clean. I'm guessing this is all done in computer these days. The stop motion isn't what it used to be. It's really beautifully done. The way they're using lighting and the way that they set some of these, like some of the art design, some of the set design, you kind of forget at certain moments that it's, for all intents and purposes, claymation. You sort of forget that. They do a really good job of setting the atmosphere and of giving your characters that the designs are just human enough, but kind of ridiculous too. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's beautifully cartoony.
Couldn't you use another stall?
Now, this absolutely falls under my family-friendly category. It is a PG rating. But the truth of the matter is that when it does get scary, I mean, it gets scary, but no worse than Goosebumps or, Stories to Tell in the Dark. Like, this is definitely, it's a child-safe type of scare. There isn't necessarily gore or anything. Everything's played just on that right side of whimsy, right? The story is very serious. I won't try to deceive you on that. The story does get very serious by the end, but it does stay on the side of whimsy, and I think that was what makes the story work, and I think that's what makes it good for kids. Because you get to go through this story, and it's all from Norman's perspective, right? So we all get to be the weird kid. I mean, some of us are the weird kid, but we get to see what it's actually like for the weird kid. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot that this movie says and a lot this movie goes on about that I think is really important.
You don't become a hero
Norman!
Norman? This is so Norman.
by being normal.
And like I said, I like the fact that it tells this story that things aren't always what you think they are, right? And I don't know, I think this movie's actually really wholesome in the way that it kind of explains to you that not everyone's perspective is the same. So I advocate on that respect, is that it's a horror movie, but it isn't terrifying and gory and crazy. It's like just enough. And I think it says something really good about, the way we need to try to understand that other people don't see things the same way that we do.
There's nothing wrong with being scared, Norman. As long as you don't let it change who you are.
Rating system, I think I'm just going to abstain rating systems for this whole series, because I think you already know that I like them all. So I'm just going to say watch it and just call it a day. I'll put some information down there, where you can stream these. I feel like this one's on Prime. Might be on Netflix too, but I'll put links down in the bottom for all that kind of stuff. So yeah, okay, I guess that one's it for this week. I will be back next week on yet another stage here at Kim's Krypt Haunted Mill in Spring Grove, PA, and bringing you yet another groovy, family-friendly animated film. So until then, see you later.